Yes. Thank you, Arshad. Thank you, everyone. We'll go ahead and kick things off. I'm so excited to see everyone here today. Isn't this awesome? We're in the State Farm Center. You know, this event started in 2017 with a very small group of entrepreneurial students. And it has grown to one of the premier events in our college and on this campus. And that's evidenced by the fact that we are hosting this event in one of the coolest buildings on campus. So I'm just so excited to see everyone here today. I would like to start just with a thank you. As many of you can likely anticipate, pulling something like this off is not easy. So just a huge thank you to our outstanding staff in Geese, and it's led by Lisa Marinelli and her team for putting together this event. I would also like to give a special thanks to Poets and Quants Editor-in-Chief, John Byrne, who's joining us today. And my most special thanks goes to each and every one of you for joining our programs, for investing in yourself through education, and for coming together today with us. It's so awesome for me to see, because I know many of you have never met in person, but you've become friends through our engaging online community. And so when I get to see you guys meet one another face to face and the joy in your faces, it's so awesome for us to see. So thank you for choosing to be here today. Well, you know, for those of you that joined us yesterday, I hope you've had a great time so far. We've got a jam-packed day in store, though, so buckle up. And if I were speaking not on this stage, I would follow that with maybe some more colorful language. But let's get ready. I know it's not easy for you to take time off work, leave your families, and commit your week to coming here. You all lead very busy lives, so I'm just so thankful that you're here and you can see a little bit of our amazing campus. Last night we were in the Union, today we're in State Farm. I hope you had a chance to see the quad yesterday. It was a perfect quad day. And I know for many of you, how many this is your first time ever on this campus? Oh my gosh, it's outstanding. So we're so happy to have you. And I know there are individuals who have traveled from all around the world. I met our outstanding contingency from Singapore, and I see them right here. Woo! But I know that's not the only individuals that have traveled. So just thank you for taking the time and making the commitment to coming here. I know I can speak for Dean Brown, who you'll hear from later today, and also Associate Dean Narissa Brown, who you heard from last night, and you'll continue to hear from over these next few days when I see it means so much that you're here in Illini country. We hope that you can already see the power of the network that you are a part of. I know you leverage that network because I see it on Workplace. I hear it in your stories when you talk about getting new opportunities, and those opportunities are created by the powerful Geese and Illini network that you're now a part of. For many of you, this is your first time at iConverge, so welcome to Champaign. And then for some of you, and I know I saw many of you here, Karen, Kurt, this is not your first iConverge. And so many of you continue to come back, which really is just a testament to the power of the network and the power of this event and the connections that you're able to build in our programs, and then they culminate in this experience. We're so proud to have all of you here. The theme of this year's iConverge is entrepreneurial leadership. Some of you are entrepreneurs, and extremely successful ones at that. So you'll understand at a very personal level what I'm about to say. But many of you have never founded a business or run a startup or created a company out of nothing, but that's okay. Regardless, all of us can think like entrepreneurs. And where are all my Geese women in the audience? I know you are all entrepreneurs because there's no way that you can run a personal and professional life as a woman without having an entrepreneurial mindset. And so I know what that takes. What are the qualities of a great entrepreneur? Openness to new experiences, an ability to thrive in uncertainty, nimble and agile in action and thought, curious seekers of information, learning to find opportunities in failures. a desire to motivate and mobilize others, and a deep passion for affecting change in an individual life, an organization, or a society. And when you think about entrepreneurship in that way, I believe we can all resonate with those qualities. At Geese, these are the types of qualities that we instill in all of our learners, whether it's in our online programs, those in our residential, undergraduate, or graduate programs. We encourage our learners to challenge assumptions, upend the status quo, embrace intellectual curiosity, and pursue their own individual passions so that they can discover what drives them and how to use this to create good. You're going to hear from our namesake, Larry Gies, at lunch, and he always talks about finding your why. And the reason he made the type of investment that he did in our university and in our college is because he wants to empower others to find their why. And that's what we're all about in Geese. In my new position as Executive Associate Dean of Academic Programs, I have the privilege of overseeing all of our academic programs in Geese and interacting with learners all the way from 18 to 88. What I can tell you is no matter the age, no matter the degree program, learners here at Geese want to be challenged. They want to learn new things. They want to be able to solve complex problems. They want to do something impactful with their lives, something meaningful, and develop entrepreneurial leadership is a key to unlocking all of these things. As part of your experience this weekend, again, you're going to hear from some outstanding alumni. Larry Gies being one of the most preeminent alumni who are entrepreneurial leaders themselves and can provide you some great insights as to what worked for them and what didn't work for them. If you think about those qualities that I just described a few minutes ago, many of you possess them already, even if you didn't realize it. Just enrolling in an online degree program shows your openness to new experiences. COVID has taught all of us to thrive in uncertainty. You've taken that to a whole new level as you've chosen to invest in yourselves through education during this time, while also balancing personal and professional lives and your own careers. Your desire to be nimble and agile and discover new opportunities are what led you to our degree programs. Whether you're enrolled in the MBA, MSM, or MSA, you're going to emerge a more well-rounded professional and a more polished leader than when you started. And that is something to celebrate. I've described many times how we've had to think entrepreneurially about developing these online programs. In the beginning, and as we've grown at times, it has felt like we were building the airplane as we were flying it. And that's maybe an overused cliche, and I actually thought about it last night. If we were trying to build the airplane while we were flying it, we would all crash and die. So it's more like we had a shell of an airplane, and we were in it trying to build it out to ensure that we were providing the most quality experience for those that were going to board. And those that are going to board are our learners. We didn't know where this journey would end, and we still don't. But we recognized that an opportunity existed, and we knew that we could create a solution that would satisfy a need in the market. We didn't have all the answers, and we still don't, but we took a leap without knowing exactly what was below, but believing that it could be good. Dean Brown and Dean DeBrock, who many of you heard from yesterday, could see that higher education was going to be disrupted, and they wisely chose to invest in online education well before others in the market. And we invested it in the right way. You often hear that these programs were built, designed to be online. And from that very beginning, we've continued to be agile, innovative, and we've continued to push forward to effect a change in business and education to impact individual lives, their families' lives, and our outstanding university. None of this has been easy because being an entrepreneur never is. It also has been very natural for us because online education and creating life-changing access has always been consistent with the University of Illinois' land-grant mission, and that is to create new knowledge and new ideas and translate these into a better way of working, living, and learning for our state, nation, and world. At Geese, what does that mean? It means democratizing education. It means breaking down financial and geographic barriers. It means delivering a life-changing education for all who desire it and are committed to pursuing it. And that's exactly what these programs do. They expand access. They focus on inclusivity rather than exclusivity. And that is critical to who we are. We choose inclusivity over exclusivity. And exclusivity is not synonymous with quality. Inclusivity can be synonymous with quality, and that's what we drive to change. They're flexible and affordable, so you can access these degrees programs from anywhere, anytime. We serve learners all around the world, and that is life-changing access. It would mean nothing, though, without quality. So we've committed from the very beginning to putting our best, most experienced faculty in our online courses. They've created outstanding MOOCs that serve tens of thousands of learners. To date in 2022, 275,000 learners have enrolled in our MOOCs on the Coursera platform. That's unprecedented reach. They also have committed to add rigor via case discussions, assessments, and group work to create an unmatched series of credit-bearing degree specializations. Above all, our outstanding faculty invest their time and passion to interact with you directly, live, via sessions and office hours. I know some of your favorites, Larry DeBrock, who was with us last night. You know, he's so engaging in those live sessions. And altogether, it makes for a very powerful learning experience. But we can't rest on what we've accomplished as a college so far, and we're not, don't worry. Higher education is being disrupted, and we and you are part of that disruption and transformation. Academic institutions are being forced to think like entrepreneurs, to think about content development and delivery in new ways, to think critically about the value of a credential, and to redefine what a credential means. To think about how to design education to serve a much broader learner population than we ever thought possible. Dean Brown wrote a white paper earlier this year, and I'll quote him. He said, "As business schools, we need to broaden the array of educational products and credentials to meet the needs of a 21st century learner. And we need to do so in a way that expands access and makes high-quality learning available on a global scale." In short, we need a new and expanded model, one that educates people throughout their lives when and where they need it. He is calling on the higher education profession to become entrepreneurial leaders. And why have others not been able or willing to answer this call in the same way that we have? And it's because for us, it is mission consistent. And when everyone believes in the same mission, it's easier to effect a change. We are a mission-driven, entrepreneurial organization in the Gies College of Business. We have disrupted business education through our model of stackable educational content and credentials. Our MOOCs and individual courses are stackable into our graduate certificates and our degrees. We desire to serve our learners throughout their entire educational journey. Education is not a linear path. Individuals jump in and out of that path throughout their lives, and we want to ensure that we are there to serve those learners. We actually, as part of our innovation this year, we created a brand new transcriptable credential, and that's kind of a mouthful to say, but on a university campus, it's really important, at the University of Illinois, called Campus Graduate Certificates. And this fall, we launched the first two on this campus, and they are fully online: Strategic Leadership and Management and Accounting Data Analytics. These credentials provide new opportunities for learners who might not be quite ready to pursue a degree or already have a degree but want to continue to invest in themselves and build a new skill set. And the cool thing is that they're stackable into our existing online degrees, providing new pathways into our degree programs. You will continue to see new graduate certificates from Geese in the coming months. We are also excited to announce that for the first time at the University of Illinois, you can stack one degree into another. The MSM is now fully stackable into the MBA. And that is something that's transformative, because at a Research One institution, the integrity of the credential has been something that we've always held in highest esteem. And so we had to get the university to reconsider how we serve learners, and to be able to serve learners throughout their entire educational journey so that they could invest in themselves through education, but still get credit and carry that credit forward and use it at whatever point in their future they want to come back and perhaps pursue another degree. We are working to define additional stackable pathways, and this is just a great example of our entrepreneurial mindset in Geese and our deep passion for effecting change at an academic institution like the University of Illinois. Stackability is at the foundation of what we do because we want to ensure learners have access to education they need to be successful throughout their entire career. We believe in creating these opportunities so much that we created a brand new Associate Dean position to lead these efforts just in August. Gary Hecht, one of your favorite IMBA accounting professors, is our very first Associate Dean of Professional Education Pathways. We are committed to ensuring that your journey with Geese doesn't end at graduation from your degree program and that you can return to Geese for all of your continued upskilling needs. We are committed to changing the traditional higher education model and serving our learners throughout their lifetime. For all of you who are new to all that the University of Illinois and Gies College of Business has to offer, rest assured you can be proud to be associated with this university and with this college. This has been my home for the past 20 years. I don't really like to admit that. I still see myself as not quite that old. But my daughter did inform me yesterday, before I got on this stage, I really should have got my hair colored. I told her blonde and gray kind of mix. And I've been able to see firsthand the strides we've made during that time. But really, we've been a leader in business education. We've been entrepreneurial leaders for more than 100 years. This place has a long history, and we at Geese have a long history of leading change, disruptive, and innovating. Did you know that we were the first ever college to offer a PhD in accountancy? We've been known for our leadership in accountancy education for decades, and our IMSA program, do I have any IMSA folks out here? Woo! Is an outstanding example of our continued entrepreneurial leadership. We were one of the first colleges to embrace experiential learning more than 25 years ago and embed it into everything that we do. At the undergraduate level, we deliver the largest experiential learning course in the nation. We built experiential learning into our online degrees so that even from thousands of miles away, you can participate in relevant, powerful, hands-on learning. Or you can come together in our domestic and global immersions, which some of you did in Seattle. Any of our Seattle immersions individuals here? There we go, one. These powerful learning experiences don't happen by accident. We've made an intentional investment in the people and the infrastructure needed to provide quality at-scale education so that we can touch as many lives as possible. We're also entrepreneurial and intentional in the way we've developed our online programs. Again, you've probably heard us talk about how they're designed to be online or online by design. We've taken all the best aspects of the high-quality graduate degree and we've delivered them online. That includes our top faculty, the high engagement classes that you love, and the countless opportunities to grow and network. The content in all three of our online programs is also continually being evaluated and updated to reflect the highest standards, trends, and practices in the field. And we will continue to strive to create the highest quality and most useful degree that will prepare you to be a leader with an entrepreneurial mindset. At Geese, we believe in investing in programs and people that are in line with our mission, vision, and priorities. And then we put everything that we've got behind it. It's why we have our established world-class faculty teaching our online programs. We didn't hire them to teach online. They were already here doing really awesome things. It's why we've launched the Disruption Lab, to expose our learners to new technologies and to help prepare them to identify and succeed through future disruptions. That investment is in the DNA of our online programs. We have invested also heavily in revamping our residential graduate programs and making significant changes to our undergraduate curriculum, which is probably the hardest thing any academic unit can do. We have launched new online credentials and created stackable pathways within an academic institution that many never thought possible. In short, if you prefer a place where things don't change much because that's the way we've always done things, then Geese is not the place for you. We're a place that believes in our land-grant mission, we prioritize what's best for our learners, and we're a community that offers purpose and an opportunity for our learners, faculty, and staff to develop and exhibit our entrepreneurial leadership. We're so glad that you're a part of this community. Whether this is your first time with us or you've completed degrees with us, this is your home for life. And I don't mean that in a scary way, like not that we're entrapping you here. I mean that in a way a family that you like and want to spend holidays with. We're so excited that you're here this week. Soak it all in, enjoy the beautiful campus, enjoy one another, and I look forward to getting to meet as many of you as I can while we're here. Go Geese! Okay, next we're going to move on to the keynote portion of our program, and I would like to introduce our first moderator, Mark Wolters. Mark is a teaching associate professor in the Department of Business Administration, where he teaches principles of marketing and social media marketing to undergraduates. He also serves as the academic director of the marketing major. Dr. Wolters is always looking for ways to positively impact the lives of his students. During the pandemic, he taught his entire Principles of Marketing course via free live stream over the span of 15 hours, all while raising money for the Geese Emergency Scholarship Fund, which supports students facing personal and financial crisis. So I'm so honored to have Mark here with us today. Thanks, Mark.
Welcome, everybody. It's so nice to see all of you here on campus. I know as a faculty member, the last couple of years have been different for me because I'm used to seeing students all the time, but online people being here, it's a fantastic experience. But we're not here to hear us talk. We're listening to hear my two former students to talk about their startup, Kickstream. So would you two please come down? So this is David Alston and Nico Adams, and they have an incredible app that I guarantee your kids will love, or maybe you'll love too. So have them come up. Ooh, they do have comfy chairs here.
Very comfortable.
All right. As they warned us, these chairs really have you sink in. So guys, why don't you tell us about yourself? Tell us how you got started with Kickstream.
Get this set up.
Get that set up? All right.
Can everybody hear me? All right, how's everybody doing? Yeah, woo. Okay.
So, tell us about yourselves, tell us how you got started, and tell us what is Kickstream?
Okay. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I can go first. So Nico Adams went to Illinois, studied finance, minored in technology and management, and it feels really good to be back here. Like all of these beautiful faces in the audience, the energy here is kind of crazy. It's crazy to be here, sitting here in front of you all, and I hope you all are enjoying your time here at Illinois. So Kickstream, I'll let David tell you what it is, but you know, it was really a vision that started here on campus. So campus is a really special place for all of us, and I hope all of you also have had those special moments on campus that can carry on and that you'll remember for the rest of your lives. But you know, again, I'm Nico, and I'm just happy to be back. So David, pass to you.
That's a difficult thing to follow up, but yeah, I'm David. I'm the CEO of Kickstream. I'm also actually a PM at Microsoft. I graduated in 2020. Mom, Dad, did I graduate in 2021, right? Cool. And yeah, we're the founders of Kickstream, which, think about it like an app that puts the power of a stylist in the palm of your hand. Think about how you go to a sneaker shop and how you kind of walk through and you see a shoe, you pick it up, you put it down, and you buy one and you don't buy one. And think about if you had a stylist following you, how they would follow that experience and learn more about you. We use machine learning essentially to take that experience and put it in an app.
That's cool. So you guys have been doing this for a few years now. What's been some of the stuff you really enjoyed about being an entrepreneur?
So first and foremost, we get to come back to campus to be at events like this. So iConverge 2022, you know, give yourselves a round of applause one more time for being here in this room, being present. And I really hope during this whole conference you all can just take a moment to really soak things in and be present in the moment, because a lot of times we let things like this pass us by, and you know, in a couple of weeks you'll be thinking back like, man, that was a magical experience being in this room with these people I've worked with online, getting to see them in person and getting to know them as a person, because that's really all we have is each other. So, you know, being an entrepreneur allows us to have those human-to-human interactions with people that we otherwise wouldn't have. We're able to sit down, talk to you all, talk with you all, and talk with a lot of different people that, you know, otherwise we just wouldn't interact with. And we also have some freedom. I forgot to mention, I'm also an associate financial analyst at Google, so that's by day. By night, it's Kickstream. And so we're able to break our day up and use two different parts of our mind and have the luxury to do something that we're very passionate about, not only because of the kicks, but what becomes the layer that comes under the kicks as well. And so, you know, that passion drives us, and it really helps us holistically with our everyday lives. So, you know, using those two parts of your brain are really essential to your overall holistic success.
I would say that it's kind of to bounce off what his answer is. It's about wearing a bunch of different hats. So for me, I'm the person who programs, I build the models, I'm kind of the main designer of everything in terms of what the app is. And you have to learn how to change directions very quickly. You know, one night I'll be working from 5 to 12 on, building an ML model, right, to do whatever, recognize a sneaker. And then from 12 to 1, I'm going to have to switch jobs entirely, open up Figma, and create, a new design for something. And then 6 a.m. the next morning, I got to write a bunch of emails to a bunch of people for accelerators or to you to ask you a question about, for advice or something like that. And so there's a lot of change. Actually, a good quote from like Winston Churchill is, "To improve is to change, to perfect is to change often." And as an entrepreneur, you're always perfected, which just is another way of saying like you have to change all the freaking time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, it's very true. You're always trying to improve. You're always trying to do that. And sometimes as an entrepreneur, it just comes from an idea. Like, hey, this is an idea I could improve upon. So where did your idea for Kickstream come from?
Well, that started when this was 2019, actually. And just for the audience, this guy was actually the second person I ever talked about this idea to. But basically, I've been doing apps, I've been doing websites for a very long time, and I was trying to pick the next one. And I wanted to pick something that I knew very well. And I absolutely love sneakers, I absolutely love culture. And so it was always about trying to find a solution for that community. Try to find ways to reinvent how people experience how they find sneakers and how they discover sneakers and how they express themselves for them, because sneakers are a blank canvas, right? It's the one part of the body that you can absolutely do anything with in terms of what you wear. But then also it says so many different things, about yourself when you put those on, about what kind of mode you are, how formal or informal you think the event is, other things about class, which, luckily those kinds of barriers are breaking. But it just felt like that was the right space, especially when it came to things like how that space was changing because of people like Kanye, people like Virgil Abloh, Jerry Lorenzo. Sneakers before had been a space where it wasn't necessarily cool or good to wear them in formal events, kind of like this. But then a lot of people kind of changed what the connotations were, changed what the perception was, and added their flair to it. To now, you walk into a Louis Vuitton store, and you'll see more sneakers in there than you see, expensive leather shoes. And so that change was something that I definitely thought, an app would be really awesome to kind of be a part of.
Mm-hmm. And it really all started, I'll give you all my perspective, like just from my point of view, how all of it came about. Again, it came about starting on this campus, and David, who, as he mentioned, has been doing websites, applications since he was about yay tall, you'd say?
Yeah, of course.
About yay tall.
A bit shorter, actually.
Exactly, and so...
You can ask his parents, they're over there.
Right. And so, he came up with this idea and eventually tapped me on the shoulder. And I said, of course, sneakers has been a space that I've been in for about, over a decade, and I've been, really focused on the market, how you can make money from sneakers. Growing up, how can I have some extra money to spend for myself or give gifts to my family or anything? Well, sneakers was the solution for me. And so it naturally was a fit. Cliche as it sounds, it was naturally a fit. Dave and I already clicked, and so the rest kind of just came into fruition. And Professor Walters, the first time I actually met you was in your marketing class, and this is a vivid memory for me, probably not for you, but it was one of the last day of classes, and he has this policy where he needs to, sign off on your attendance sheet at the end of class. And so one day I walk in about 5-10 minutes late, and you were done signing those papers.
That's right.
And so at the very end of class, I come up, and I'm like, Professor Walters, I promise I was in your class, only 5-10 minutes late. Can you please sign off on this paper so I can get these participation points? He looked at me dead in the eye, said, no. And so that a small memory, but it was something I was fond of, just because, you didn't, you kept it real 100% of the time, and to this day, you still keep it real, you're authentic, you know who you are as a person, and you don't deviate from that. And so that's something that I personally still follow, and that bleeds into Kickstream. If you open the application up today and look at it, it's authentic, by the culture, for the culture.
That's awesome. So with Kickstream, all this stuff, you have the passion, all these things, but where did the machine learning come in? Like, what brought that into the whole equation?
I wish we could take credit for deciding to start with machine learning, but that actually came from an unknown company called Apple. Basically, we were a part of an entrepreneur camp in early 2021. We were one of 13 apps picked from around the world to be a part of this camp, where essentially you would spend, I think it was 7 to 10 days, essentially working with Apple engineers, Apple designers, Apple everything. And in a lot of those meetings, they said that we think your app would be fantastic to kind of pair with machine learning. And specifically something that Apple has, which is called CoreML. And they were absolutely right, because, you know, before that, you know, the line that I use all the time is that before we were fighting with sticks, and then we were fighting with Excalibur. Just meaning that, you know, when it comes to the app landscape, there's so many that you have to understand how you're different, and you have to be very good at being different. And machine learning brought a level of intuition and a dimension to experiencing just fashion as a whole that we never had, but also very few apps have ever had. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, and small piece to add, machine learning, if you think about it, or if you're not familiar, it's almost that piece that you can't really put your finger on that makes the experience magical. So when you open something, when you do something, when you interact with something that is using machine learning, it almost adds that layer of mystery. It's the mystic experience that makes your user experience magic. You can't quite figure out what it is, but it pretty much gets to learn you more. And, you know, it learns quite literally about you and about your actions and about things that may or may not happen in the future. And you're able to really feel like you're working with something that's smart. And that's a common theme with Kickstream. It's a smart application, and that's really what the sneaker space doesn't have right now, is something that is smart, intuitive, encompasses all of these different elements, but also makes the user feel like they're working with some magic.
That's nice. I like that. I've always wondered how you guys got in with that. That's great. But here's one thing is, I'm an entrepreneur myself, you're an entrepreneur. What are some of those difficulties you face getting Kickstream off the ground, getting things going? Just because we've all had, I'm sure all of you, a lot of you are entrepreneurs out here, we all have those hiccups. And so what are some of the hiccups you had, and how did you overcome them?
Well, I think there are a number of different tiers of hiccups, and I experienced a lot of those, especially in the first year when it was just me working. And that tier of hiccup was just, you know, having too much to do for, you know, one person, essentially. When it comes to the sneaker community, you need to be close to them. You need to have a good relationship with them. And it's difficult to do that while also having to program an entire app by yourself. And so that was definitely the first kind of tier of problems, and that was solved by finding somebody who I thought was awesome, who was a part of the community, who had a fantastic business knowledge, not just because he was a Geese student, but because he's just like that. He's just awesome like that. This guy solved that tier of problems pretty easily. But then along with that, being able to evangelize what you're doing. Evangelize your message when it's not something that's ever been done before. Especially when it comes to using things like machine learning, we sometimes have to find ways to explain what machine learning is before we explain what we're actually doing with it. So we have to kind of give, Nico's magical speech or something along the lines of that to make sure that people understand that, we're not just using some pie in the sky word. We're not just, saying something to look cool. And help them understand it, because once you understand it, then you kind of fully understand why we're doing what we're doing and what makes it different.
Nice. And then, okay, so here's one thing. As an entrepreneur, we talked about some of the hiccups, but what are some of the misconceptions that people have about entrepreneurship, whether, from whichever angle you want to look at it, from idea creation to implementation to getting it out there, like not just things that you've personally gone through, but things you've seen in other, because I know you all know a lot of entrepreneurs. What are some of the things they should be looking for? The common misconception, mistakes they're making that they don't trip over their own feet when they're going out the door.
So I'll give two quick things. The first one is that, David and I both have full-time jobs, We're both at tech companies, but we both also are Kickstream. And so the first thing is, you don't necessarily have to be a full-time entrepreneur to be an entrepreneur. You can be working on an idea that you've had in the back of your mind for an hour a day, and you're still considered an entrepreneur, regardless of what societal norms may say or what your peers may say. Oh, you're not a real entrepreneur if you're not all in on your venture. Do what's right for you and do what fits in your life. And I know you're taking advice from some people that might be a little younger than you, but it's true, and even though we're young, I'd say that, we've had some life experiences that might make us a little wiser than the average, middle-aged 20-year-old. So yeah, that's number one. Just make sure you're doing what fits in your life. You don't have to be a full-time entrepreneur. Number two, you don't have to be making $1 million on day one. You don't have to be making $1, $100, $1,000. Entrepreneurship is making the world a better place. And if you have an idea that will make the world a better place, you should get up and start it. No matter if you're making money or not, that's really not what it's about. It's not what life's about. It's all about, this world has certain pockets that if you feel deep down that you can fill, I'd say walk into it and fill that spot. So, to just quickly to summarize, the first is you don't have to be a full-time entrepreneur. Just get up and start, and it can fit into whatever you're currently doing as well. And number two is, you don't have to be making profit day one, and that's really not the end-all be-all of entrepreneurship. It's really about making the world a better place for all these people in this room right now.
What about you, David?
I think that his point one probably would have been my answer, to be honest with all of you. So he kind of said it better than I did, but I would say that like an example is that I was just reading a book, don't even remember the name of the book, but basically chapter 1 talks about Warby Parker's founders, which was really interesting because someone was going to invest in them, and they ended up saying no. And they said no because essentially when they asked them, are you going to leave college or give up starting your jobs at this corporation to start this company? They said no. They said, we're going to actually continue working on Warby Parker while also working at this corporation because we're not necessarily sure this is going to work out. And that potential investor decided that was not an answer of an entrepreneur, when in actuality they turned out to be just as much of an entrepreneur as anybody else. And one thing I also learned was that apparently the definition of entrepreneur is actually just taker of risk. And there are tiers of risk, and I think we associate risk with entrepreneurs as going absolutely crazy with something, that I'm going to quit my job today. I have $10 in my bank account, but I'm really serious about this idea because everybody needs my new unicorn outfit for cats. And so if I'm really serious about it, I must quit my job today. I'm going to start making out of my garage and things will happen. When, you can be just as much of an entrepreneur when making those cat suits out of your garage between 5 to 9 and then, working from 9 to 5 at anywhere.
So I think the real key really quick there is just like, you don't have to romanticize any of this. Like, at the end of the day, it might be glamorous if you have that thing that you start up and quit everything, go all in for, and it works, but you really don't have to romanticize it. Just do what is right for you as an individual in this room, and the rest should work out.
That's great. Thanks, guys. So where does Kickstroid go from here? And where do you all go from here?
Well, we're going to go in a number of directions, but all of it focuses on the concept of community. First and foremost, we've been spending the last couple of months really understanding what the best new way to serve this community for sneakerheads is, and how we can really go to the next level of what we're trying to do to create a new experience holistically that no one has ever seen before. And we're going to keep a little bit of it under wraps because it's a little super secret right now. But it uses AR, it uses machine learning in a way that nobody's ever really seen before when it comes to the sneaker space. And we're very excited about it. So everybody should download the app, actually, and keep tabs on it because it's going to be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. And I think a big part of what's next for Kickstream is right in this room. Like, we're going to keep, putting it in front of people, bouncing ideas off of each other. We'll keep in touch with every single person in this room and just really understand what you all think about sneakers. And I hope you all aren't too comfortable. Can you quickly stand up if you have a pair of sneakers on right now?
I see sneakers. See, it's not just dress shoes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Just wanted to see really quickly, and that really just goes to show, sneakers really are a part of any aspect of our lives, not just when you think about basketball or a certain sport or a certain occasion. they're really starting to bleed into our everyday lives. And so, you know, all of you now are part of the Kickstream community, whether you like it or not. Whether you like it or not. So, yeah.
Thanks, guys. That's awesome. So we'd like to move into the Q&A part of the talk, the panel today. So if you have any questions, do we have a microphone around? There's a podium. Oh, there's a podium over here. If you have any questions, just head on over. I know from my experience, so if you do want to go over, you can. Don't be shy. You know, I'm used to being in a classroom with 600 students that no one knows how to answer a question. So if you need a little time to walk over, feel free. But I know I've seen these guys over the last few years work on this and see how much passion they have for it. And they really do have the passion. And that's one thing they both hit on, is you don't have to do it your full-time thing all the time. You know, you can't throw away the family. You know, there's a thing called health insurance. How many have a job because you got to have health insurance, right? I mean, let's be honest. That is one of the benefits of working for the University of Illinois. Excellent health insurance, you know. And that's just it. You have these things, and so you can keep enjoying and keep having that passion. But we have questions over here.
It definitely dovetails on what you were saying. I'm so appreciative that you're honest about you don't need to quit your day job. You don't need to be making cat suits in your garage. That's the next unicorn, because I think about 5 to 7 years ago, that's what I noticed. And it's been marvelous to hear reflected my tendencies and then have it articulated and then affirmed. So my specific question is, how did you get to that conclusion that you don't need to quit your day job, we don't need to romanticize things? Because I think the more we can be entrepreneurial, we can drive our economy forward. We can do way much more when we have different ways that we can live our lives. It's not just 9 to 5. It's different parts of your brain, as you mentioned earlier. How did you get there?
For sure. That's actually a great question. I would say that it all goes down to community. One thing that I think we both have, but one thing that I've had a real blessing of is a network of founders at every single stage. And when you're able to see that, you're able to see that the vision of what we think everyone is, which is essentially just, you know, Steve Jobs, essentially, isn't necessarily what the real life entrepreneur is. You have people working on their business with no funding, still working, you know, at corporate. You have people with no business who are just coming up with an idea who are at corporate, people who are still in school doing all those different things. It's a real mosaic, and it's not something that has to fit one different type of thing. And what I've actually found is that the people who are the most, I don't want to use the word successful because I think that's a little bit subjective when it comes to these things, but the people who are really happy with where they are in their entrepreneurial journey are the ones who make their own path based on where they are. And so if that's, you know, working at a corporation, maybe going half-time and doing that if they can do that, or even full-time trying to find a way to make it work. And so just surrounding yourself with people who break those archetypes, break those, you know, that imagination of what you have, is incredibly freeing, and it allows you to know that wherever you are, it's where you're supposed to be, and that's more than enough to be able to get to where you want to go.
And that's really the life philosophy. I love everything you just said, David, and it just comes down to, you know, for anything, scratch entrepreneurship, anything, there's no like cookie cutter way to live your life. And if you do try to follow a cookie cutter way to live your life, it won't work out probably. You have to freely flow with structure and with intent, but freely flow through this lifetime. It's very short, and try to do something that speaks to you in whatever capacity it may be. And you'll get somewhere. It might not be to the finish line day 1, day 2, year 10, but you'll get somewhere, and that's what's important. And like I was saying before, you know, when you do find your way to wherever that may be, you're not only doing something that makes yourself fulfilled, because that's very important, but you're helping the world, you're helping humanity, and, you know, that's important. And once you start to move and, you know, maneuver through this world with that mindset, it's easier for you to understand that, you know, you don't have to do anything just because that's how the world operates, but there's a free world that you're fully in charge of, and you can really make anything out of it that you want.
Cool. The next question. Thank you, by the way.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
My question is less about the app and more about your full-time. I've been trying to break into, you know, the tech, you know, the Microsofts, the Googles, the Netflixes. How did you get in there, and how do you kind of advise someone who wants to get into work corporate in tech?
First and foremost, it's about networking. You have to be able to understand how to, whether it's a recruiter or an employee or whoever you're working with, look past just what they can give you in the short term. One thing that I always did with recruiters is not actually just hand them my resume and start giving them an elevator pitch. I'm asking them a question about their company that lets them know that I'm interested in them and what they're doing, and not just they're just another name on the list. And so, building that kind of network out, building a relationship with people has been incredibly helpful.
Yeah, I think that was a good answer. And also just like be your authentic self. I think recruiters all around in FANG and really everywhere, but especially in tech, appreciate if you are yourself, your authentic self, and not what you think they want you to be, because they can detect that very quickly. So.
And then a second part of the question is, did you have this company before you were in your Microsoft or Google, and did you leverage that on your LinkedIn resume that shows you're kind of made for this type of industry?
So entrepreneurship was definitely on my resume. It was a big part, and it definitely made me look good. But the journey of Kickstream and the journey of Microsoft are two different pathways. To be honest, they don't really cross.
Yeah, and for me, I didn't even really bring entrepreneurship up. It was more so like the entrepreneurship spirit that just came out in whatever avenue, whatever interview question was kind of asked of me. So.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Of course.
Sorry for the people over there. I didn't realize the other month. So first up over here.
Thank you. Hi, my name's Andy. I really admire what you're doing, where you're working full-time with 2 high-profile tech companies and running a startup on the side. I'm curious how you've managed a couple of the risks with that. One of them is, like the founder of my company, when his full-time employer found out he was doing that, they walked him out the door that day. The other is your terms of employment. There's some risk your current employer might assert ownership to some of your IP. How have you manage those 2 risks?
Yeah, so for me, it's pretty simple. Since I'm a financial analyst and I'm not involved with certain aspects of that, it's a really clean-cut thing where there really is not much discrepancy.
Yeah, so basically all the code, all of that kind of stuff, that's my thing, right? And so I make sure that anything that releases to the public, whether that be a document, whether that be an app, or any actually thing in private as well, is always entrenchedly separated from anything that Microsoft could ever see, touch, or know. I also very much scanned all of those, before you get onboarded documents to make sure I understood the bounds and the terms of whatever happened, and I made sure to follow everything that needs to be followed. So it's really just about being vigilant. I also think it's about, understanding what the company is, because we have, Microsoft and Google are 2 very different companies when it comes to how they treat entrepreneurship and their employees. And I think one advantage of me doing most of the work, I wish I could say it a little bit better right now, but most of that is the fact that Microsoft's pretty chill about it, honestly. And so we're in a very kind of rare position that we're taking advantage of.
Yeah, and we see we have a good amount of questions, so we'll try to rapid fire the rest of them.
Thank you.
Thanks. So I went 2 over there. I'll go 2 over here.
Great, thank you. Alfred here. Thanks, guys. It's been fun to hear your story. I find something interesting in what you're talking about in terms of risk-taking, but also as there's kind of a myth of the individual entrepreneur that you got to kind of like do it all yourself, and you guys are clearly have this co-founder relationship, and I wanted to hear a little bit more about like how you pick a co-founder, and also like what you both bring to the table, what it's different, and then maybe one example of something where you guys completely disagreed on something and how you resolved it.
So I would say that because I tried to do this all myself at first, and it was very difficult. I definitely would say that when you're looking for a founder, you look for somebody who balances you out and can do something that you cannot, or know something that you cannot, or see something in a way that you know the product itself would benefit from. And so there were very few people on campus who fit that description. Actually, there was only one person on campus who fit that description. And so it was a pretty clear-cut choice in terms of that. In terms of how we work, it's pretty chill, you know, because I work on the code, because I work on the ML, because I work on the kind of design stuff. That's kind of stuff that I can run point on pretty easily, and then I can share with him. But then Nico has, you know, a lot of say in terms of, you know, kind of PR, public relations type thing, the Instagram account, you know, how we communicate with different people. And so he runs point on that, and then sometimes he'll, you know, and then basically one person does something, and then the other person gives feedback on it. Kind of making sure that we each have our own little, not necessarily silos, because I think that brings a bad connotation, but our own little spaces for that. And for disagreements, do you want to think of a disagreement?
It's a yin and yang type thing. We balance each other out, and when we do have a disagreement, it's for the better. Mature enough to, you know, find the root cause of that disagreement, why we had that disagreement, and move on. And it's for the better, because if we have, that means we're having opposing point of views. That means we're thinking differently, which is important with a co-founder for sure. You want people that think different, not only the product, but life. Like, how do you think about life? Do you think about life a little differently? Because then you're able to build in perspective thinking. How is the user going to think about it in different situations? So definitely.
Normally, yeah, it's not to cut you off.
No, I was done with that thought. Yeah.
But normally what happens is when you have a disagreement, the thing that comes as a result is better than the solo ideas. And so I would say that there's a lot of design things that we'll kind of go back and forth about in terms of even small details like color of something. Where we will go like 6 hours being like, it should be this shade of black and this shade of black or this shade of black, which is good because it means if you have that strong of an opinion, you have that passion. That's what that's rooted in. And whatever shade of black we choose, it's always usually the best one.
Thank you. Over here.
Thanks for being here, guys. A couple questions. Number one, could you give us an overview of Kickstroid's revenue model and then some brief anecdotes of your earning your first dollar?
We are not with profit right now because we've been so focused on the product, but we're B2B. And I can say that it's very difficult to say right now because some of the stuff that we've been focused on, that we've been having meetings about, is that under the hood stuff that I don't really want to tell a group of people in an arena about. But yeah, the first dollar is likely going to be B2B in terms of we take a lot of the stuff that we've been able to do and all the stuff that we described in terms of being able to understand you and understand how you think and understand how to use that to redirect you into stuff that you want to buy. And we have found a lot of people who like that very much, who would like to pay us for that. But that's something where the first dollar will be coming soon because right now we've been so focused on product and making sure that the best product we could possibly build is the one that users see.
Keep up the good work.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate you.
So go over here.
Hey, thank you. So I want to know how you are selecting accelerators or funding opportunities. How are you going? What is your strategy around that?
Well, first of all, it's find as many as you possibly can and put them all on a list. And then you go through that list and you see which ones you think fit your approach, fit your vision of what you think an entrepreneur or a startup should be, and ones that will most importantly understand you. One thing that we learned with the Apple camp is that it's so important to work with people who are investing anything in you, time, resources, and especially money. Work with people who understand you and who see your vision for what it is and don't put a vision of what they think and then put that onto your products. And Apple was wonderful with that. Apple was fantastic about that. And in terms of accelerators, we're looking to continue that.
Yeah, and don't take money from everybody because we could have taken $1 here, $1 there, but Kickstream wouldn't have been what Kickstream is right now, right here, right now. And so it's important to not go too crazy over being offered money or having a potential opportunity to get some money just because you can. It's more important to stay your course, no matter how long it takes. Obviously, everything I'm saying is, with some strategy and intent behind it, but stay your course, and when it happens and it feels right, that's when it's right.
Also, here's some quick free game on accelerators. Find whoever's on their website and contact all of them. Contact all those people. If you're sending in just a blank accelerator application and you don't know anybody who's a part of it,
Shame on you.
You're behind. You're behind. Somebody started the race in front just because they knew somebody who ran the accelerator.
Thank you.
Thank you. Over here.
Hello. So first of all, thank you for being here, and it's very inspiring to hear your stories. My question is, you're dealing with the machine learning, as you mentioned. So at what point in time you understand that the product that you're trying to deliver to the customers has reached the disruption in terms of technology, and whether did you do any customer survey? And since it's a B2B segment, so there should have been some institutional clients as well who you try to reach and understand their pains and their gains, stuff like that.
So first and foremost, we're always talking to our users. So that was never something that we had to start doing whenever we started using ML. We had those pre-existing relationships, we had all that kind of stuff. It was always just about asking the channels that we had, measuring the channels we had, all of that kind of stuff. Along with that, we have had a very good relationship with a lot of companies from the get-go, just because both me and Nico are pretty decent in terms of networking, and so that usually leads to a lot of really great connections, a lot of great mentors, a lot of great people who are interested in who we are and what we're doing, and it kind of naturally flowed into that. So we have had good indicators from both pretty consistently, and when we don't, we kind of take that feedback, we learn from it, we improve, and then we go back out there with something better.
And a real quick question, what's your short-term plan, let's say in next 1 to 3 years? Where do you see yourself?
We see us doing Kickstream full-time, and we see a version of the product that we've been working on for the last 8 months finally coming to fruition and being released. That should be pretty awesome and changing people's lives. I mean, the app's already changing people's lives, but it's like changing people's lives on steroids. So we'll see.
Great.
Look
Thank you.
forward to it. Thank you. Next question.
Sorry. Hi, thank you for your story. My question is, what do you think about, okay, maybe you can fail your business because everybody wants to be, not everybody, me and someone else maybe want to do the entrepreneurship, but sometimes you think maybe I can fail, right? You mitigate your risk because you don't left your job to do just entrepreneurship. So what was your idea to boost yourself? That is my dream. I want to stay on it, and I know that after 1, 2, 3 years, I'm going to do my first dollar or my first product. So what do you think? What do you, the idea you have at this moment to boost yourself?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So if everybody's still paying attention, I'd like to try a really quick exercise with you all that answers this perfectly. If we can all just close our eyes just for a second, just for a moment, and take a deep breath in, exhale. Now envision something that to your core feels right, something that you're passionate about, something that 5-year-old version of yourself would be so proud of that you are spending time with, that you're working on this. And now we have an upper hand from our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents, that we have information right at our fingertips. You can right now take your smartphone out. Don't actually do this, keep your eyes closed. But if you wanted, you could take your smartphone out and look something up and figure more out about that very passion. And so I think you don't have to be an expert, and our eyes are still closed. You don't have to be an expert on whatever it may be. All you have to do is have the will, the passion, the drive, and know deep down inside that this idea is worthwhile. And so as we open our eyes, I'd like to kind of challenge all of you to take that first step, maybe even today. Ask a friend, ask somebody sitting next to you, figure out what it might take for you all to take the very first incremental baby step into doing that idea that you might be scared that you're going to fail on. Because like I said before, you know, I'm super big into philosophy, if you can't tell, but you know, life is short, and I'd be very disappointed in myself if I'm at the end of mine and I look back and say, I wish I did this, I wish I did that. We don't really have time for that. Now what we do have time for here and now in this very moment is to think and to make a change on, you know, how we're thinking about things and just make an incremental action, a movement in the direction of something you know and you feel in your heart and your soul that is right for you. And I promise you, if you follow that, if you just follow that mindset of life is short, why not? It's really easy to fail because, you know, at least you tried.
And just to put that in a different context, you know when you know. It's the thing that you refuse to lose on, the thing that you're going to say that this is going to happen. The world could end tomorrow, and somehow the next day after the world ends, I'm going to still be working on this somehow. And it's you know, it's an innate feeling you can find from a lot of things, including the you know, everything. But it's a gut feeling that you will refuse to stop doing what you are doing. And if you are willing to stop doing what you are doing, then you have not found the thing yet.
Add something. Sometimes, you know, life is I can win, I can fail, right? Yes. Just take the bad example. I fail. If I fail, what for you, for your experience, what do you think I'm supposed to have in my mind this time? Like, I gain the experience here, I gain the connection. What's supposed to have in my mind at this time to go forward? That don't lose my mind. Maybe I have to do something else different, you know, because sometimes it's happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I really feel it's just, you know, you tried, you gave it a shot, and that's worthwhile. Like, you felt it was right. You made an action upon to get you in the right direction, to get closer to that vision, that product, whatever it may be, entrepreneurship or not, just anything in life. And, you know, you can look back again and say that you tried, you put your best foot forward, and you tried. And I think that's enough, at least for internal motivation for me, you know, looking at my family, looking at friends, everybody, just like to know, you know, I tried, and this is, you know, not for my first name, but for my last, everything really, I tried, put the best foot forward for everybody, and maybe I failed, but it doesn't matter because I tried.
And I know we want to make sure we have time for every other question, but one more thing to that, because I just thought about this. I was reading this in a book a couple of weeks ago. But basically, it listed out a bunch of founders, you know, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, all of these, and it talked about how there were people in their lives who basically had pushed them when they actually were not going to do whatever the thing that we know them for greatness of being. Somebody pushed them to do it. It actually was Wozniak. Wozniak didn't want to quit his job. It took a lot of persuading from his family to do so. You know, I'm not going to go about the stories for time, but essentially find people around you who can support you and help you kind of make sure you're manifesting things that you want to do, but sometimes you might get a little bit too afraid when you're about to make that jump, just that they can kind of reassure you that this is the right thing for you to do. But it ultimately will come from something internal, but the network around you could really help you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And our last question for the panel.
You guys already talk in bits and pieces from the previous question, a lot of the things which I'm about to ask, but I will probably go a little more open-ended on this. What emotion, what you went through, what was your journey when you go from passion, entrepreneurship, we talk a lot about passion-driven, we want to start it, but from going from passion to become confident that yes, we can do it. That's a journey everybody takes. There are some low times, some high times. What was that journey for you guys?
You can start off on that one.
And so the question is just, what was the source of passion for us?
Not the source of passion, but you, at some point, you guys were passionate about the idea you were working on. And how was your journey from that passion to the confidence that we can do it and we will do it?
I got it. So basically, before I do anything, I ask myself, why this, why now? And it's something where, and also sometimes I say, why you? Right? Why this, why now, why you? And before I make a big decision, I ask myself those questions to make sure that this is the right time for kind of, you know, doing this idea. We as a world are in the right place for this idea. They're ready for it. But also I'm the one, you know, I'm at the level, you know, of knowledge, of ability that I can actually bring that to fruition. And so basically when it came to this and when it came to answering those questions, the answers to those questions aligned pretty well.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Nico. Thank you, David, for being part of the panel today.
Thank you.
Hey, it's great to see
all of you.
And all of you for being here. This is one of those things. You have all of these people here that have studied with you, whether online and now you're here together. Think of the ideas you can share, the businesses that can come from right here. These are two students that were in class together that all of a sudden have an awesome app and a business going forward. How many of you, I challenge you, maybe you can find someone here that you can start your business with, get your entrepreneurial dream going. So thank you very much, everybody. Wish you a fantastic day. A round of applause for our fantastic Kickstream team. And I do not have the platform. I do not know what's next on your agenda, but oh yeah, we get swag bags, I guess. So we get something, so we can look cool like you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So, Jan, do you know who's up next? Oh, well, there you go.
Is this on? Can you guys hear me? We're going to take a short 15-minute break, but before that, I definitely want to give thanks to Mark, Nico, and David for such an awesome panel discussion and really a lot of philosophical thoughts that not only ties in with entrepreneurship, but just as us as humans, and this is truly awesome. I'd really also just like to share that this is a perfect example of the great undergrads that we produce here at Geese. So we do everything when it comes to producing great students. So thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
So we'll take a 15-minute break, and then our next panel will start at 10:30. Whenever you guys hear that, it's a time to quiet down and take your seats. Awesome. So I'm pleased to get started with our next keynote panel. And I'm going to introduce our next moderator, Melissa Graebner. Melissa is a professor of business administration and also the Robert and Karen May Faculty Fellow. She's the director of the Initiative for Qualitative Research in Innovation and Entrepreneurship, also known as INQUIRE. She joined the Gies College of Business in 2019 and teaches a really exciting entrepreneurship course on new venture creation to our undergrads. Please join me in welcoming Melissa to the stage, as well as our panelists, Julie Scott and Julia Hareed Flesher. Thank you.
Everyone. Want to come on up? It's great to see all of you. I love this sea of orange and blue. And in a moment, I'm going to introduce our amazing panelists who I had the pleasure of talking to yesterday. And I can tell you they have amazing stories, both of them, and you're going to enjoy hearing from them a lot. But before I introduce them, I just want to take a moment to, first of all, say how excited we are to have all of you here. And I know I speak for everyone in the Gies College when I say that. And second, just to thank the folks who have put together this fantastic event. Brooke Elliott, Narissa Brown, Lisa, Rachel. I'm sure that there are a lot of other staff members who've worked on this, but I can tell you it takes a lot of organization to make things run smoothly. So if we could just take a moment and thank them. Awesome. All right, so without further ado, let me introduce our fantastic panelists. So Julia Hareed, did I get it right?
You did.
Okay. Julia Hareed Flesher is co-founder and president of the board of directors of Maker Girl and a senior consultant at Deloitte. Maker Girl is a nonprofit organization working to energize girls aged 7 to 14 about science, technology, engineering, and math by educating them in 3D printing. Maker Girl has taught almost 6,000 girls nationwide through live and virtual sessions hosted by university changemakers trained by Maker Girl, as well as through on-the-road education with Maker Girl Goes Mobile, which focuses on 3D printing education in rural and diverse communities. As a senior consultant, Julia serves in Deloitte's Finance, Enterprise, and Performance Group to provide assistance to CFOs and finance groups. She serves Fortune 500 clients, mostly in life sciences and technology. She previously worked in audit and assurance for 3 years at Deloitte, and prior to that, she interned at Condé Nast Teen Vogue and at Rent the Runway. Julia holds a Bachelor's of Science in Accountancy and Master's of Accounting Science from the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. She's a Chicago native and loves playing with her nieces and nephew and hikes with her husband above 14,000 feet, which is a little intimidating, but also below 14,000 feet. She's also a Forbes 30 Under 30 recipient. So welcome, Julia.
Thank you.
And Julie Scott is the president, CEO, and founder of CTS Impact. She has extensive, diverse business integration experience in finance, information technology, and management operations. Along with the CTS Impact team, she advises Fortune 1000 clients on a wide array of issues, including business process improvement, data analytics, software integration, corporate compliance, mergers and acquisitions, and organizational change. In addition, she assists emerging growth companies with strategic transactions, including IPO readiness. Julie earned a Bachelor of Science degree in accountancy from the University of Illinois Gies College of Business, cum laude. She is a certified public accountant and member of AICPA and the Illinois CPA Society. As a fierce advocate for social justice, Julie is highly involved in numerous social impact organizations dedicated to equal access to education through scholarships and to help women and families in crisis. She serves on several boards to lead by example in support of these critical issues, as well as on the Gies College of Business Dean's Advisory Council, and she's past president of the Gies Alumni Association. Recently, Julie was also appointed to the regional board of the Smithsonian Institute. So welcome. Okay, so let's get to our panelists. Our theme for this weekend, as you know, is entrepreneurial leadership. So I'd like to start by asking you, Julie, can you tell us about your path to becoming an entrepreneur?
Yeah, absolutely. But before we start, I just want to say how awesome this is to be in State Farm Arena. I still have kept season tickets for a million years since my graduation, and just feeling the collective energy in here, it's very inspirational. So thank you for inviting me to be a part of this. Starting point for me is in forming my business, I actually refer to myself as a bit of an accidental entrepreneur. I never set out to launch a business. I'm a CPA, as you've heard, so by our nature, we're not necessarily risk takers. But as a starting point, I was really looking for something that could really meet my personal values and life goals as much as my professional goals. And so for me, it was finding a pathway to harmonize those experiences. And so as a result, you know, working up through my career journey, as I refer to it, I thought my end goal was aspirational CFO public company. And that would be the be-all, end-all, fabulous end of story. But I was relating to Melissa, I had the aha moment once I got there, like, really? Is this all there is? And it was missing something and I wasn't sure. So I set out on my journey to find a way that I could bring an innovative type of model, as you heard, a consulting model where all of our staff have practitioners' experience, but also people are passionate about the work but want to be part of something more. And it's that collective, that collaborative spirit that has really been the foundation growth of our company. The other factor was that I was, with my husband, we were starting a young family, and I needed flexibility. And back in the old dark days, that was almost a dirty word in large corporate. And I felt that I wasn't going to give up and compromise, again, my life goals in trading off with my career goals. So that was really the kind of the impetus for starting my organization.
Fantastic. And Julia, can you tell us your story to becoming an entrepreneur?
Definitely. So it was my senior year, and I was taking one fun class that wasn't accounting, and it was social work and business administration here at the University of Illinois. And in the class, they asked us what bothered us. So interestingly, similar to you, I saw that there were fewer women as CFOs, even though you are and we're one. But I wanted more women in leadership positions. And I didn't quite yet know what that meant or what that looked like or why or how I could make an impact. But during this class, they asked us what bothered us, and that's what bothered me. And from there, my co-founder and I, we had the idea to start Maker Girl. Because so many CFOs, both men and women, have STEM backgrounds. So I wanted more young people to actually have those experiences, because if they don't have those experiences when they're 7 or 11, they're not going to necessarily go on to the University of Illinois and study engineering or study math. So we really needed more young people at a younger age. So that's what Maker Girl is trying to provide. And we do that by getting girls excited about 3D printing. So these young people get to actually learn how to 3D print, and then they get to show their friends and then show their mom, oh mom, I printed this, like, isn't it so cool? Young people, especially girls, just like love to share. They're just like boundless. So it's really fun for them to have a technology that they're able to share and learn. And show others about. So that's where I started Maker Girl in 2014, and then since then we've grown exponentially, and we have 3 full-time people, and then about 10 board of advisors and directors, and then 30 change makers. And for us, change makers are university students and high school students who volunteer with us and lead our programming. So we run our programming since COVID virtually. Now we're going back to live. So we do virtual live, and then with a mobile truck that actually goes and focuses on rural areas because there's fewer resources and technology in rural areas. So we're trying to bring the technology to those areas through the truck. So that's our programming, and that's kind of how I started in entrepreneurship.
Great, thank you. So now that we've heard both of your origin stories, I wanted to switch gears a little bit and talk about the theme of leadership. So in the earlier panel, which we were all fortunate to be able to listen to, we heard about some early stage entrepreneurs. You've both been involved with growing your organizations over a period of years, and you also have corporate experience, both of you. So I'm interested in what are your thoughts on the differences between leadership in a very young, growing organization versus a corporate environment? And Julie, I'll start with you this time.
Sure. So I also work full-time at Deloitte, and I also have a Maker Girl team that runs Maker Girl full-time. So I do get to see more of the corporate leadership at Deloitte, and it's definitely a bit farther away. I don't always talk to our leadership. I'm not at that level. So it's a bit farther away. But at Maker Girl, I am definitely part of the leadership. So it's much more hands-on, much more active. We're part of hiring, firing decisions, where we're going, our vision. So there's definitely a lot of differences. With a corporation as big as Deloitte, I don't know how many people it has, 300,000, versus Maker Girl of 3. So they're drastically different, and I definitely have a larger impact with the Maker Girl leadership that we run.
Great. Julie, your thoughts?
Yeah, I love the question because with our firm, I still get to have the opportunity to work with very large organizations, and also certainly with our culture being a more boutique structure with just over 100 staff, it's very easy to see. I would agree that it's dramatically different in terms of, first and foremost, just the cultures that are involved and also the decision-making process. Certainly in a very large established organization, it can be frustrating at points to be a much more protracted process. What you might see is bureaucratic and could be frustrating when you know you have a great idea but can't advance it without some political maneuvering, let's say. In an entrepreneurial environment, certainly there's a more concentrated team. You can be much more nimble in terms of your decision making, and I found that incredibly liberating. It's also, I think, from a governance standpoint, I do a lot of advising with corporate boards. You have 2 different stakeholders, constituents that you're answering to. Certainly in the large corporate environment, your ultimate responsibility or fiduciary responsibility would be to your shareholders. And in a private company, more entrepreneurial venture, you're certainly still answering to your investors, but they already understand that you're signing up perhaps with a model that's more than just about the return. And this is where I get very excited because I think we have worked hard to dispel the myth that it's one or the other. I believe if you really, like the earlier panel said, if you're working on something you're passionate on, you ultimately will be more profitable. And that was actually the evolution our firm experienced. I have to say I'm the worst forecaster in the world. I never imagined we would be as successful as we are. And that's really what drove us in 2016. We added the word impact to our name. And it was to send the message out formally. We were not only hands-on at clients, but we're going to be hands-on in our community and committing a significant part of our profits each year to what we refer to as our social impact partners. I don't think that I would have that type of latitude in a traditional environment.
Yeah, definitely. Great. So I think in what you were saying just now, you hit on one of the things that can be most fulfilling about being an entrepreneur, which is that opportunity to align what you believe in with your work life. And Julia, I'm curious, what's your favorite aspect of being an entrepreneur? Certainly you had that ability to align your values, but are there other things you enjoy about that?
Yeah, there's so many things. I think one of them is I get to bring my whole community and friends and family into something I love. So I love education and I love people, so it's really fun to have my friends and family be able to support that, also in line with us. So we have an event, Chicago Charm, in the fall that's a fundraiser, and it's really fun to get there's 50 of my closest friends and 50 of my co-founders' closest friends who actually join and celebrate what we're doing. So I love getting communities involved. And then probably also the ability to ask for things bigger than yourself. I'm not necessarily, this is not, when I ask for money or donations, it's not necessarily directly for me, it's for these girls, these 6,000 girls that we actually get to educate every week. And it's, I guess, just humbling and very, it's a great experience to be able to ask on others' behalf and also ask big requests of other people and see how big they'll go to and if they will be interested or not. So I think getting my friends and family involved in community and then also asking really big requests of others and having them say yes a lot of the time.
Yeah, I'd like to add to, I think that's really cool. I very much feel the same way, because actually for me, again, it was a function of making everything work, keeping all the plates spinning. So by definition, one of my mentors said, she understood that my goal was to be very engaged with the business I was passionate about, not sacrifice my family life, and commit to the community work. The only way, there's only so many hours in the day, was, as you said, just to harmonize it. And I love to blur the lines. Why wouldn't we include a social impact model in our for-profit delivery? That to me made sense. Why not include my family in the work that we're doing, and even my son, in hopefully leading by example so he could see what it meant to give back from a young age. So I think that's really important and very, I'd say, very fulfilling when you say in terms of a career option.
Yeah, definitely. And actually from our high school, which is St. Ignatius, and Julie's son also went there, which I found out last night, they have a motto to be a man and woman for others. And throughout my whole education at the high school, they taught this and we lived it. So it's really exciting too to also live that out, as I'm sure you now do and your son does, to be a man and woman for others. It's not just about me, it's really about the community, and my life is only as great as the people around me.
What a great message. So Julie, coming back to you for a moment, you've seen a lot of growth in your organization. You mentioned that it's been more successful than you had ever imagined, which is a wonderful thing to hear. What are your lessons learned? Looking back, what would you do differently?
Oh, well, we don't have all the time for that. I think I'm very good at, I have to say, failing, or even, I remember they were talking about failure in the earlier panel. One of my mentors early on, it's a message I like to keep close to me, is there is no failure. I like to live with, there is no option for failure. It's just degrees of success. To me, the only failure is if you haven't learned anything from your mistake. Sort of shame on you. But in terms of lessons learned, there are so many. I think early on was we were not giving ourselves the credit that was due in terms of what we were accomplishing along the way. My benchmark for success was the ultimate aspirational goal versus the milestones along the way. And certainly right along with that was an understanding early on, the classic founderitis, that I thought I would have all the good ideas and all the right answers, and absolutely not. My team is much smarter than me. They inspire me every day. They challenge me. That's that collaborative model that you want. But I think those are mistakes early on that are easy to make, and they're tempting, but they're very short-sighted. like I've got this. I remember specific experiences. I reference my mentors a lot, which are not just professionals, but also my husband. He is a true entrepreneur, disruptive in the commercial real estate industry in terms of innovating an entirely new model. Grew up in Urbana, so as I said, he never would have married me if I didn't go to U of I. But looking back at my, leveraging my mentors, particularly they were women, but also men who were encouraging me to take risk when I wasn't so clear that that was an option. So at times was listening to the message. They had to kind of kick me in the butt a little bit to get moving. The other big mistake, I know I could go on and on about mistakes, but accepting help. Having the grace. Some people want to help you. When they're helping you, you're actually giving them the gift of that fulfillment also, being part of your growth. I never understood that until living through it, that people were offering me help in building my business, and all I could think of was, I have nothing to offer in return. Why? What's the catch we were talking about before? And in fact, when you open up your mind and your heart to let them help you, it's incredibly enriching, kind of holistic experience. So that was a huge eye-opener where I just had to get out of the way of myself.
Get out of the way of yourself. I love that. That's another philosophical nugget for the session today. So, Julia, what are your thoughts when you think back?
Definitely. I think sometimes when you're doing two jobs at once, it's number one, tiring, exhausting. There's a lot of things you have to manage. You have lots of to-do lists. So I think probably always trying to find the value in what you're doing and also take a step back sometimes. Sometimes you can get caught up in your 500 emails that you have, or your texts, or your kid's sick and they need to go to the hospital. But also sometimes just stepping back and realizing there is value in what you're doing and try to think about like what you're actually learning and what you're doing. At many points during my time with Maker Girl, I've wondered like why I'm still doing this. It's so much work. I'm not getting paid for it. I have a team that's running it. But I've really gotten over the last 6 years like a master's in nonprofits and startups. One time my mom told me that and I was like, oh, you're right, I have. Like it didn't even occur to me that I had like all this experience. So it's not necessarily a mistake, but I think just realizing sometimes what you're actually doing really makes a difference. So probably with all your lives doing a master's program that's online, it's probably really tricky. There's like a lot of commitments that you have to do and a lot of things and family time and other things that you could be doing, but there is value in what you're doing, and just remember to like step back and kind of actually think about what's value and what value you're creating and providing yourself in your life.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. Our most limited quantity is often time, so thinking very deliberately about how to spend that time. So what's next? I'm going to ask both of you this question, but I'll start with you, Julie. What's next for you personally and professionally?
Definitely. So personally, I just got married last year, which is really exciting. Thank you. And our honeymoon, my husband loves to hike and climb, which is obviously a lot of effort, but he wanted to climb Mont Blanc, so we climbed Mont Blanc last year, which is the tallest mountain in Europe, above 14,000 feet. So that was pretty exciting. So I guess creating a life with him is personally what we're doing. We just got an apartment in Chicago, so creating a new life in that way. And then professionally, continue to grow both at Deloitte and with Maker Girl. We're always looking for great people to hire and be part of our team in Maker Girl. So really just have that team flourish. And we'd love to continue our road trips every summer and access as many schools and have basically every girl in the United States learn how to 3D print. That'd be a dream come true.
I love
that'd
that.
be pretty cool. So
fantastic.
What's next? Well, it's a great timing for question because our firm is actually celebrating our 20-year anniversary.
Yeah,
so
awesome.
yeah. I can't believe, it doesn't seem like the math is right. Like, how did that happen? People ask me if I'm bored. I'm like, we're not the same company that we were, right? When we first launched it, we've continued to innovate. So I start there. I think it's just to continue to innovate new services, new practices, For me, most of my time at this point is spent on continuing to curate and enhance our employee experience and our culture. It's a competitive advantage for us. It helps us retain best and the brightest staff, and it's also a lot of fun. I love my team. I miss them when I don't see them. So continue to pursue that and watch them thrive is a very top priority focus for myself. And that kind of bleeds into professional/personal. I have, as you heard, I'm very active in several nonprofit boards, and I've recently been putting my toe in the water in terms of pursuing different corporate boards that I had been approached for and had typically put off. I thought, I'm not ready for it. I was judging myself. I didn't know if I could add another thing on my plate. But with the size of our team, being able to delegate, I think that's going to be an exciting new adventure for me while continuing to manage the growth of the firm. And then personally just continue very much in kind of life's journey and focused on family and giving back. We have a family foundation. For me is just continuing to explore what are the issues and where can we really have the biggest impact. So again, you've heard bringing those personal values into the corporate, that was sort of the genesis of it. But so much of our focus as a family is around equal access to high quality education. I'm a product of that. I attended U of I on a scholarship. The happiest day of my life, of my dad's life, besides probably when my sister and I were born, was when he heard that I had a scholarship, because my sister was older and had already kind of burned through all the money for college. So I'm a product of that. It was a transformational experience here. So that's why we've committed a lot of support for scholarships in entrepreneurship. And just, to me, it's that journey of learning more of where you can have the impact. What actually happens is the more you learn, the more you see that there is so much incredible need. So my voice in my head is, what more can you do? How can you give back? Others have helped you. Now it's my turn. And for all of you to keep that in mind would be advice I would share. It doesn't have to be about writing a check. It's about your expertise and your time. It's about your talents and unique expertise. How can you move the needle and have an impact? So that's definitely the continuation of just learning where else that I can help in my community and help others.
Great. So listening to the two of you, I want to know both of your secrets to time management, but I'll ask you that privately, because I want to be sure that we have enough time for Q&A. The questions that were in the previous session were so interesting. So I want to encourage those of you that have questions to make your way to the microphones. And in the meantime, we're going to do a very quick lightning round. And I have to give credit to Julie, who suggested this, this very fun idea. Okay, so for each of these questions, I'm going to ask Julie first and then Julia.
Okay, I'm ready.
Question number one, favorite place to hang out near campus?
The quad, for sure. I did it last night, grabbed carry out, got all sentimental, sat on the quad, had dinner. And then every time I come back on campus, which is often, I have to do my tour, drive by PAR, which is where I spent the first 2 years here, drive by my other apartments, some of which were condemned, I think, after we moved out. But definitely the quad. It is the embodiment. Last night it was a beautiful evening. Someone had an electric guitar with an amp playing. It was awesome.
That's awesome. I have two. So one is Urbana. I'm a huge fan of Urbana. I lived there my sophomore and senior and master's year. So my sorority house and then my old apartment. And then also CAMS. It's pretty fun. And the new building on Green Street is crazy big. So that was kind of fun to see yesterday.
Okay. Favorite Illini tradition?
Favorite tradition, lots of traditions. I had the benefit of being on campus when the football team was top rated. The old tradition was, and you can't do it anymore, we'd rush the field with a victory and tear down the goalposts. I can't do it anymore, but we did, I know 2019, big victory if you were there. I think it was homecoming. And everyone rushed the field. That kind of tradition, very unifying in terms of the student community and the alums as well. lots of other traditions, but that one very much stands out.
My favorite tradition is also sports related, with women's volleyball and going to Huff Hall. It's a great place to see a game. The women's volleyball team has been quite good over the years. They made the Final Four when I was a sophomore, and I think they did really well this last year. Also, my freshman year roommate was on the volleyball team. She's 6'5", and she's also staying at my apartment this weekend, so excited to see her. So I'd say women's volleyball and going to see them play. It's really a great game, and if you ever get a chance to go see them, definitely see them.
Yeah, and I think the group is going to the game tomorrow, football game. Or
Y'all going to the game tomorrow?
If you have time.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Get your ILL cheers ready.
All right. Now for our last two questions, I'm hoping you can resolve some controversies for us. So, first of all, which is right, Champaign-Urbana or Urbana-Champaign?
Urbana-Champaign.
Urbana-Champaign sounds good.
Definitively.
And lastly, what's your favorite color, blue or orange?
Orange.
Oh, blue, come on.
All right, we got
It's hard to wear orange.
Okay, well with that, I see we have tons of questions. So let me start over here. Come on up.
Hi, Alicia Thompson. I just wanted to commend you both on furthering education for girls, in particular STEM. It's near and dear to my heart. My undergraduate degrees are in computer science and mathematics, so go STEM. And I was curious, after looking at the program started in 2014, those girls that go on to undergraduate and secondary education in STEM, how are you guys keeping up with them, keeping up the connection, and furthering that bond?
Definitely. So yeah, those girls are now a bit older than they were when they first started. They were 7, so they're about in high school now. So we definitely try to keep track of them. It's a little hard because they didn't probably have emails back then, but we definitely have some personal relationships with them, and we've seen them, well, it's also easier to see with our change makers because they're a little older and we're able to actually like see what they do. So we've gotten a bunch of scholarships because of honestly their work with Maker Girl, because they get to share that story. People have gotten jobs because of Maker Girl. And then with the young people, we've seen that they have also started like robotics clubs and speech clubs. So it is hard to track, and we're doing our best to track it, but we do have some really great success stories that we try to share with people. Thanks,
Great.
Alicia.
Thank you. Yeah, as a follow-up to that, I'm interested in starting a startup to help the girls who are interested in STEM who can't afford and need micro grants. So maybe we can get in touch and talk about
Yeah, Julia
some of the
at
girls from
makergirl.us. Yep, would love to talk.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's take a question from the other side.
Hi, my name is Angelo. Very nice to meeting you, and thank you for your very aspirational speech. So I feel a really personal connection with the work of Julia, because about 15 years ago I did something similar, but in place of doing it here, I was doing it in China when I was living there, and it was about arts and music. So I'm very curious to understand like a little bit about your obstacle in scaling that organization throughout the journey, and then how are you planning to expand it in the years going forward? Thank you.
Definitely. So probably our biggest obstacle with scaling, especially in the most recent years, is hiring great people. That's our biggest issue, and continues to be. We've had some great people and some not so great people. It's honestly, everything else is easy compared to the people issues. So I'd say that would be our biggest issue. And we're always looking for the best people to hire.
Great.
There you go.
Look good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gentleman over here.
Hi, good morning. My name is Patrick. Thanks for being here. Great to hear your stories. 2 questions. First one is to Julia. I have a 6-year-old daughter who's interested in STEM. Is there any plan for your organization to move into the Florida market?
Florida, yes, I wanted to plan a spring break trip for our university students. I haven't done it quite yet, but for anyone, anywhere across the country, even in Florida, you can do our online virtual sessions. We'd love to have her.
Okay, Great. And then secondly, this is to both of you. You talked a lot about time management and work-life balance and that. And I was wondering if you could share any insights on any habits or processes that you have in place to kind of keep yourself organized and on task.
Well, certainly the starting point for me was just to blur those lines and include, the professional doesn't end at one point and the charitable and the family doesn't start at another point. It's really all harmonized, as I said. But some specific things, life hack type things, is just leverage technology as much as possible. I'm addicted to Siri. I'm dictating all the time. In terms of just trying to expedite being responsive, right? We're a professional services business, so you need to be responsive to your staff and your clients. And I think also setting some boundaries is important in terms of when you are not available and being a professional about proactively communicating that. I think it's okay. You have to give yourself permission to set those boundaries, and will help others manage their time as well.
I think all of those are great. Yeah, I think boundaries especially, like my husband's love language is like spending time with me, which is awesome, but it also requires a lot of time. So basically every night from like 7 to 10, like I'm not doing anything except with him. So I think boundaries are really important. And then also having great teams and just being clear and upfront and communicating your expectations for them and what they can expect from you. If people don't know expectations, then a lot of things go wrong. So really communicating with your teams your expectations and what they can expect from you.
Thank you. Next question over there. Hi there, my name is Stephanie Florence, and I also attended Illinois as an undergrad, so it's been nice to hear your passion as well and being able to share it with all of these classmates. And I went to Mother Macaulay, so I feel like here in St. Ignatius, we have those strong high school ties as well. So what I wanted to talk a bit more about is a nonprofit I'm involved with. It's called She's the First, and it fights for girls' rights globally by identifying organizations locally in the global south to help through sponsorship and scholarship. And so my questions are related. Julia, you talked about your change makers, and I'd be curious to hear any learnings that you have from training those high school and college students, because that's something that's a part of the She's the First model. And then Julie, any intel that you can give about how you identify organizations that you support through CTS Impact?
So do you want to understand like what works with training our university students? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, or if there's anything that you're like, we used to do it this way and now we do it that way. I think it would just be helpful to hear, because your model is training people to then help train those with STEM. So I think it's just really important that you're getting at the root of that in-between group.
Definitely. So I think with interacting with young people, you definitely need to be like excited and joyful and just like out of your body. Like you want to be over there with whoever you're talking to. So we really look for people that are energized and personable, because with young people, that's really what makes a difference. And then training wise, our curriculum for training them always continues to evolve. We just had Summit these last 2 days virtually for the first time. So we'll see how that goes. Normally we try to have everyone in Chicago and fly in. But yeah, I would say really trying to find great people who are energized and ready to work and do anything, because unfortunately sometimes the things that we do aren't that exciting, but we also get to make a big impact at the same time. So finding people that are ready for that.
Right, I think that's a great question, because there's so many things you could be doing in terms of where you can have an impact, in terms of how we vet organizations. It really starts with what resonates with our staff and me personally as well. And we get involved initially, we assign within our firm team captains to go out and participate in events. We provide pro bono services, sit on boards and committees, whatever we can do to learn about the organization, to calibrate, is this truly one well managed, where we view our donations as an investment, and where those investments will have a return on within the community. So it is a process, but I always say it starts with the passion. We started out with, again, my values kind of transferred to the firm around women and families in crisis and supporting them, as well as equal access to high quality education. But we branched out to other things that were important to our staff. We're very active in the space around immigration and justice in terms of supporting an organization, national organization called the NIJC, which advocates for and actually supports people with pro bono legal services, people who are seeking asylum in the U.S. We're active in suicide prevention and awareness for teens. Unfortunately, one of our staff lost a child to suicide. So it's, again, it's something that resonates with the team, and then going all in. It's not halfway. It's not just writing a check. We want to invest ourselves in that organization, and that really tells you where the best investments lie.
Thank you very much.
Over here.
Hi, Patricia Shields. Thank you, Julie and Julia, for being here, for your vulnerability and courage and contributing to all of us. As female leaders, can both of you share with us what leadership is to you? Is it a specific leadership style? Is it a mindset? I would just like to hear from both of you what that means to you.
You want me to go? That's a great question. Pretty tricky. But I think being a leader for me is really being like a team member and a teammate in any issue. I really try to have my groups that I work with, both at Deloitte and with Maker Girl, just be a teammate and like lead by example and be willing to do the grunt work or whatever it takes to get it finished and have it well done. So I'd say be a teammate is something that I really strive to do. And you need like great men and women around you. It's not to do with sex or gender or any of that. It's really just about being like a leader and a team player with everyone that you interact with every day.
Yeah, I absolutely have to echo that. In terms of leading by example, it's there's several, I refer to them within our firm as Julie-isms. If you have to tell someone you're the boss, you're not. You've already lost them. So in terms of leading professionally, but almost silently. And your role as a leader is really, you mentioned it too, is to build those teams, prop them up, give them the resources so that they can be successful. From a professional services firm standpoint, I view it as if we take great care of our staff, they will take great care of our clients. The traditional model is the marketing and schmooze to the clients. I think your actions in terms of your excellence in client service will speak more loudly than the marketing. So in terms of that is kind of flipping the equation more to leading by what you aspire to be, set an example, and be a role model for others.
Are there any other Julie-isms you can share with us? Because now I'm really curious.
There are some. I think keeping it simple. I probably say that at least 10 times a day. It's easy to overcomplicate things, and I think the previous panel said, look into your heart, know what's really important. Why the heck are we even doing this? If you can't answer it, then you should stop. Another is we start with, at work, what's good for the project. Filter through all the noise. What's going to advance this project for success? Don't care about who, what, where. What's good for the project, and everything else will be shaped and defined by that. And then my ultimate, which I warn all recruits about, is I don't like surprises. So back to your point about communications, it's all about, I believe as a professional, proactively communicating, trying to look around corners. What's coming that, before it's a problem, it might be an issue. Let's talk about it. Let's get the team together, that collaborative. Let's be problem solvers rather than being put on the defense of reacting. So avoiding no surprise, yeah. Those are a few, is that?
Those are great. I love it. Next question.
Hi, good morning. My name is Maytal Merchav, and I'm actually an engineer, and thanks to Geese, also in business. So I know things have definitely been getting a lot better for women in both engineering and business. However, it's still not there yet. My company, even though it does have a woman CEO on the global front, on the local scale, I'm one of about 10% of engineers. So my question to you guys is, as women leaders, how do you both find your voice and make sure that you're actually heard?
Good question. You want me? I'll start that one.
Yeah.
For me, it's important, and obviously I've been doing this for a while, a million years out of school at this point, but in terms of finding your voice, it's not just your voice. You talk about being a relatively small representation of the organization. For me, is when you're approached to be part of something, is to make sure that you're avoiding tokenism. And I'll just speak about that very frankly, but something, if you're approached to serve on a board or work on a project, I believe it's my role to advocate for others to ensure there's diversity around the table to help solve the problem, whether it's on a board, a project team, whatever. And to say, yes, I'd like to be involved, and I'm bringing 2 other people with me. So I think that helps very much to help champion others in terms of making sure that there are those different voices at the table. I guess my answer to your question, it shouldn't just be my voice. I don't know if that's helpful, but I view it that way.
That was a great answer. I'm going to leave it there.
Hard to top that answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, Christina Walter. So you talk a lot about talent, and your organization has gone through a life cycle already that can show some learnings along the way. So I'm very curious to learn more about how you have leveraged talent when talent wasn't paid, when it was volunteer, or it was those individuals who said, I want to help. And then you transition to part volunteer probably and begin salary, and now more salary. And I'm really curious the type of management styles you apply to these different types of talent and how you continue to motivate and inspire them to stay with you when you want to keep them.
Definitely. Oh, yeah, we've definitely gone through some life cycles and different iterations, and you really said it perfectly about how we've changed. So I think really the whole time, I have to be someone that people want to be around and want to work with and who are excited about. So I have to show up every day and bring that, and bring my energy, and bring my smile, and just bring my quality and like work ethic. Because if I don't bring that, then no one else is going to bring it, and I cannot expect anyone else to bring it. So with university students, like I had to also go to the Maker Lab and be one of the first people there, and be setting up and be printing the papers. And then even today with my CEO, who I'm directly interacting with, I have to do that with her every time. I just told her yesterday, I was like, you need to tell me what you need, and then I'll go out and do it. But I cannot be the one that's telling you what to do. I am technically a co-founder, but she's the CEO, and she needs to be able to communicate, and I need to show up for her and do what she needs done. So I'd say bringing like who I want as myself, and then if I bring myself, that's what's going to show up on my team. So I think leading by example is probably what I've done and continue to do, and then being clear with your team about what they can expect from you, and then having, I guess, the work ethic to then go do it and have my word, whatever I say I'm going to do it. Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Hi, good morning. So my question is more towards your social causes. Both of you seem to have had a social cause where, you've led to this entrepreneurship. How would you get started for like 2 different profiles for younger girls? Like I have a high schooler who has a strong sense of social justice but doesn't know how to channel it. And there's so much out there that's confusing. So how'd you get started for that? And then the second one is for the women who are getting older, right, becoming empty nesters and want to do something more and nurture something else. Again, there's so many options out there. How do you get started?
I can take the 15-year-old. So I loved the class at U of I because they asked us what bothered us. And even today when I'm thinking about other things that I might want to start, I always kind of go back to like what bothers you and like list those things out and then create a solution for each of those 10 things. And then just circle one and say, this is what I'm going to do, and then do it. And then if you want to switch in a month, then you can switch in a month. But I think there is power in choosing, even if it's not the perfect thing. We did not know Maker Girl was going to be what it is today. We thought it was a school project. Our teacher, Noah, was like, you guys should go do a pilot. And we were like, we have no fundraising experience. I don't know how to 3D print. I'm not doing a pilot. Which I bet your daughter probably has other great things to say like that. But he just kept encouraging us to do a pilot, even despite all of our concerns. And then we did it. So I think having her do some sort of exercise like that, and I continue to do it every day, I think that would be really powerful and exciting for her. You could say like maybe like every summer, like start something new. And then maybe one will work and maybe it won't. It doesn't matter.
That's a great answer.
Yeah, and I actually think that advice translates to the experienced professionals as well that you mentioned in terms of they don't know where to start. I had the same dilemma. Actually, my first board was with U of I College of Business Alumni Board, and it was, again, putting my toe in the water to understand something where I could give back, something, again, that resonated with me. So I think volunteering for me was the way to understand, is this an organization that I can be more involved with, where I can have an impact? And I have to say, I volunteered and participated in many other organizations, and you know pretty quickly what you like and what aligns truly with your values versus what you don't. Like you said, it either works or it doesn't.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Gentleman over here.
Thank you. Hi, Julia and Julia, and your story really inspired me. I appreciate it so much. My name is Han Tang Tu, and I'm a student of an MBA program, and I'm also architect, so I know a little bit background knowledge of 3D print technology. And so my question for Julia is that back to 6 years ago, and what inspired you to bring this future but ongoing technology to the elementary education? I have 3 kids. So what bring you to this industry, and what inspired you? What's like moment?
Yeah, definitely. So honestly, my co-founder had the idea, and I loved her idea, so I joined her team. So honestly, it wasn't even my idea, but she knew that the College of Business had the first 3D printing lab. So U of I has the first 3D printing lab in a College of Business. And it's on the 3rd floor. When you're in Biff, you should go check it out. It's really cool. So it's a beautiful space. It's really friendly, both for all ages. So I think that's probably what inspired us, because we had like access to these amazing resources.
So is that one is the printing room in U of I right now?
Yes. Yep. It's in Biff, the Business Instructional Facility. Yeah, definitely go see it. It's awesome.
Sure. Thank you, Julia.
Thank you.
Hello, thank you for coming today. It's been very inspiring to hear both of you. My name is Kate Pastusha, and I have a STEM background, and so I'm really excited about the Maker Girl. As a mother of 2 daughters, as someone who has a background in biology, sociology, and public health, I see that, I'm often the only woman in the room when I'm sitting at a table. My current role is as an environmental consultant for manufacturing, and you have to question why there are not more women sitting around the table with you sometimes. So I really want to say thank you for Maker Girl. I was also a Girl Scout leader, and I only have 2 daughters, but somehow I had 3 troops at one time, and 40 Girl Scouts and a whole lot of cookies. It was a really fun time. For a while I had 6 different meetings a month with my girls. It was a lot of fun. But to make that impact, and to know that you're going to stay in those girls' minds forever and impact their lives going forward. I was just curious about who your collaborators are for your business and kind of what your business model is.
Yeah, those are great questions. So we love Girl Scouts. So we partner with libraries, Girl Scout troops, teachers, really anyone that has a group of about 10 girls or more, we want to partner with them. We partner with schools, unit schools, yeah, again, anyone. Yeah, one of our other bigger issues is the marketing and actually getting into those schools and having access. So anytime people come to me, we are like more than willing to jump and go work with them. And that's also why we have our rural truck that goes to those rural communities so that we can access different people, because we realize like you might not live near the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign and like be able to drive to the Maker Lab. So we want to be able to drive to those students. So that's pretty much our model. And we do, again, virtual live sessions and the mobile. They're normally about an hour and a half. And then we have progressively more technical curriculum for the different ages. So we will work with like 6-year-olds sometimes if they can work a computer. But mostly we focus on 7 to 14-year-olds. And then we also work with university students. So we're really working with like 7 to 22-year-olds is who we're really working with. So yeah, that's pretty much what we do.
Great, thank you for your work.
Thank you. I hope your girls come.
So I think sometimes the 6-year-olds can work a computer better than the parents. So, back over here.
Hi, my name is Prakash. Julia, thank you. Thanks for your time today. So in asking my question, I want to give an analogy of making a movie. Right? So when a movie is being made, the director has a vision of a movie in his mind. He gets the actors together, he gets a crew together, and he ensures that they kind of work such that the vision is fulfilled, right? So in doing so, the leadership style is very authoritarian, I would say. Wouldn't that be the same with an entrepreneur? Right? Because an entrepreneur has an idea, wants to bring the product out or the service out to the market, and you get a lot of people in who have different ideas, but then eventually the vision of the director or the entrepreneur in this case should be the one that should prevail, right? So and the reason I'm asking this question is I've just moved into a leadership position. I have a team now, and you pretty much, what we learn in our MBA courses are very participative kind of leadership, but I feel sometimes the authoritarian type of leadership is needed. So I wanted to take your opinion. When do you get authoritative? When do you get participative? When do you keep it very delegative?
I'll take that one. I love the analogy of a movie, making a movie, but I would say it is much more collaborative than it may appear at its face. Certainly you have the director with his or her vision, but the way it's executed is, again, that interaction, collaboration with the actors. And they're bringing their own techniques and style as well. So as a leader, I do believe you set the vision, but in terms of how you execute, I believe as a leader, you have to give it room to see how your team can execute, which in many cases might be another approach to the goal that you've set out as vision. Their approach might get you there faster or more productively. So I kind of differentiate. The word authoritative, I bristle a little bit at that style.
It's got a bad press, of course.
Bad press. But I think you do have to hold everyone true to what we're really trying to accomplish here, right? Keeping it simple. Here's how we're trying to get to A to B. But I think also creating the space for people to, creatively think about how you get from it, how do you execute A to B. Yeah. Does that help? I know it's a little different than your question.
So what you're saying is set the vision and let them reach the vision in their own style. Probably it might be different from what you would employ, but probably set the vision and set them in the track and see how they go about doing it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's totally letting them go. I think you're then participating in that process. Like Julia said too, rolling up your sleeves and being right part of that problem-solving team. I think that is how you lead by example. I tell my staff, please delegate to me. You're all my boss. Tell me what you want me to do so you can be successful. So I don't think it's just letting them run with it. You have to, create that environment so they can be successful. But you do have to maintain those parameters or boundaries as well, because people might go a little bit off the path, and you have to rein them in. That's more of like a gentle leadership versus restrictive.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to be on Julie's team any day, first off. So I would agree with what you said, and I would...
recruiting.
And I would say, have it be other people's ideas. You want people to do what they want to be doing, so it's so powerful when someone actually gets to like a similar conclusion that you might want, but it's their idea. Same thing in personal relationships. Like it's so much more fulfilling and fruitful sometimes when it's the other person's idea and then they get to actually execute it, as long as you have like the similar vision and goal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Angelica Manella. I am also an alum of St. Ignatius, AMDG. And my question is that sometimes I can get a bit caught up in work and forget to take a step back. And it sounds like you both have roles where you wear many hats. How do you stay grounded and remember to be women for others when life can get a bit overwhelming?
It's a tricky question. I would say, I think sometimes like being active is one of the best ways to like think about things and not to think about things in detail, but just have your mind wander. So I think sometimes when I like go on a run, that's honestly the best time for me to just like be in my world rather than my to-do lists. So I would say being active and taking care of your health and well-being would be one of the greatest places to start. Yeah.
Yeah, very much agree with that, is finding other spaces to have a chance to let yourself innovate or be creative. I think it's better for your team too to get out of their way sometimes. So even like coming down to campus the last few days, all the creative juices are flowing, all the collective energy here. That's something I can then bring back to my team. So it's much more efficient when you get out of, like you said, the day-to-day routine. That's when some of those bigger ideas will come to you, and allow to see where others also can step up.
Yeah, and I would also add to that, create structures of either accountability or teamwork in your life with like either a close friend, and have them be your partner in what you're up to. Like with Maker Girl, they all know that like Maker Girl is like what I think about all the time. So having a team and a structure that really is fulfilling upon that and that keeps me accountable as well really helps. And same thing with Deloitte, like they know what I'm up to. They know I want to do well there. So like having a teamwork that's set up for them, and communicating my commitments and expectations of what's going on, so that they can either say, yes, that's working, no, it's not. So creating structures around you for fulfillment or accountability, professionally and with everything you do would be what I would say.
I love that, Julia. I have to comment on that because if people are pursuing new career moves, I think it's important for you to be upfront about that you're looking for your new prospective employer to support the things that you are passionate about outside of the office, and securing that commitment up front, because it's about giving you the time to be involved with your other organization. That's something you want your employer, your managers, your team to feel supportive in that process.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for your responses.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
I think this will have to be our last question.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. Really nice hearing everything today. My name is Praveen, part of the IMBA program here at Geese. Julia, I truly love the vision that you have for your mission here. I mean, to allow little girls and little kids to say yes, right, as you stated on your site. As part of your fundraising efforts, and I'm sure donors are at the heart of this, and to have them say yes to the same shared mission, I was curious, how are you leveraging technology, or are you leveraging technology to provide transparency to them in terms of, especially to have repeat donors, and how are you going about that? I'd be really curious about that.
So is your question how we're using technology or more about the transparency?
Yeah, like in terms of nonprofits, they often have to provide transparency reports and other sort of compliance to show how they're leveraging the dollars that are being budgeted for. So I was curious, how are you leveraging technology or possibly not leveraging technology?
Okay, got it. So we definitely try to keep track of costs that we spend specifically for our sessions. So for like our mobile truck, it's relatively easy to like understand that we spent X amount and then understand how many girls we actually provided services to. So I think that's one of the easier ways that we do it, and we definitely are tracking, and we do try to understand. And then we also bring that to our donors, and we say it costs Maker Girl $20 to provide this curriculum. Like, will you donate $20 so that we can educate one more girl? So we try to be upfront about it, and same thing, I guess, back to the Maker Girl Goes Mobile, we also understand that it's about $50 to get a tank of gas, so that's what we'll ask for. And we'll say, can you donate a tank of gas for our girls that are going across the country this summer, and donate that. And then we do use different types of technology, because it's easier for donations. So a lot of platforms do provide us better access to data and then to keep in touch with them. So I would say we do really try to keep track of how much it costs to educate one girl and use that when we're budgeting.
Thank you. And I was curious, have any of your donors asked for your mission to be gender neutral, or?
We have not been asked that, but I would say, like, we do want to provide our education to everyone. It's more of a matter of a constraint of resources. So as we get more resources, we are ready and willing to go educate more people. And sometimes we are constrained by classrooms, so we do educate boys and girls at the same time, or whoever's in that classroom, because that's just how it's going to work. So we don't just say no, outright no. We are flexible on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think, do we have time for the last question, or do we need to, I don't want to ruin the schedule of the, one more, okay.
Thank you. My name is Tao. I'm also based outside of Chicago, and I work in the STEM field, so I'm very interested in the work of Julia. So my question for you is, was it difficult to work with academia, like break into that academic world when you have to work with high school? Did you get in touch with leadership team, and so how did you do it at the beginning, and what was the most challenging hurdle that you have to overcome? And if you do it again, what would you do differently?
Yeah, so you're asking if we partnered kind of with more academic structures. So most of our university students and high schoolers, we work with them separate and outside of their school or their university. We definitely recruit at universities and through the schools, but it's easier for us to function without the constraints dictated and distinct requirements by each school. So we're not necessarily like a registered student organization at U of I, because it doesn't really work with how we also work. So that's how we kind of recruit. And again, recruiting honestly is probably one of our biggest difficulties. So we're always looking for the best and the brightest talent around.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much to our panelists, these inspiring and accomplished women, for sharing your experiences and for finding the time in your obviously very packed schedules to come here to campus. We appreciate you.
ILL. Couldn't resist.
Love it.
Awesome.
Ooh, I love it.
Thank you.
Are we done?
I think we're done.
Cool. Thank you all.
Everyone give another big round of applause for Melissa, Julia, and Julie. And again, as Julia noted, the Maker Lab is in Biff, so when you're in Biff this afternoon, definitely pop up on the 3rd floor to take a peek. If it's not open, that's fine. It has glass doors. There's 2 glass doors that you can actually look in. And Maker Girl hosts many of their summer programs right here at the University of Illinois in the Geese College. And also want to give a shout out to Julie. She and her family has actually founded a scholarship for entrepreneurship here at the University of Illinois. So thank you, Julie, for giving back in so many ways to the university. So lunch will be served shortly. I actually see them bringing in the food as we wrap up here. Our program starts again at 12:30, so feel free to mill around, network, grab food when it becomes available, and we'll get started again at 12:30 from Dean Jeff Brown and Larry Gies, the namesake of our college. So thank you, guys.